Drifting for me is all about the battle.
It's all about big angle, big smoke, and pushing hard up against the driver's door.
Drifting's become so professional, but it's a spectator sport, and we're all out there to put on a show.
The thing with drift is we all work together. Although we're competitors on the track, off the track we all band together, and that's why I love the sport.
Aussie versus NZ, what better rivalry?
We're out here doing it for Blaze Unit in Australia.
This is the Trans Tasman Drifting Championship. We're from NZ and we're here to win.
Anzac spirit temporarily put on hold as Sydney Motorsport Park plays host to round 2 of the Hi-Tec Oil's Trans Tasman Drifting Championship. And hello to wherever you're watching from around Australia or across the ditch over in New Zealand. There's Scott Shemry, one of the hot guys to watch out for here this weekend. But the big news is that the Australian team captain Bo Yates has hurt his engine in qualifying early this morning and unfortunately will not take part. Chad Nalon and Dave Carter joining you for what promises to be another huge hit. Here's the Australian team, and Prosnick and Yates, the big names that unfortunately will get replaced by Levi Clark and Rob Arbolino.
Neither of these drivers are going to disappoint though, Chad. I mean, Rob Arbolino in the last round of the Trans Tasman Championship came out on top of the podium as a sub, but the Kiwis are sure to come out swinging.
Yeah, Darren Kelly, their team captain, is the best from over there, but check out the big name. Yes, Shane Van Gisbergen to watch out for as well. Let's hear from some of the stars.
Trans Tasman Series, first battle. Unfortunately, I had a big hit and smashed the wall. Massive hit, probably one of the biggest I've had, but thankfully I got a killer team, man. We got on the tilt track, go back in the pits and pretty much got all the arms changed and got back out there in like 15 minutes. So credit to my team, man. I couldn't do it without these guys.
Had a okay time down at Winton. Had a little issue with the car that I had to drive around. Basically had no third gear, so that compromised my battle. So looking for a bit of redemption today for sure.
Just had some practice sessions here this morning. Only had about 5 laps at Sydney Motorsport Park's South Circuit. Really cool drift section.
What an awesome track. We've been out there for practice, and yeah, seems to flow all right. So it's pretty technical, and I like that, throwing a big car around like this.
What a track, it really is cool. A lot of elevation, which is something quite a bit different to what we're used to back home.
Kiwi drivers, obviously they're all killer guys. Darren Kelly, he won the championship last year. You got Finger Dan's been doing it for years, You got Andrew Redwood, man, that car's killer fast. He would be definitely, I think, one of the scariest guys to be out there against. Redwood, yeah, his car's crazy fast.
Looking forward to representing Australia, like a lot of pride involved. Obviously, there's that rivalry between New Zealand and Australia.
It's such an awesome experience, to be able to come over here and do this Trans Tasman Series. It's it's a dream come true, and to bring the car over and to have it going strong with 2 drivers, it's been really reliable, and it's because of our sponsors. That's what makes it happen.
The Australian drivers definitely have a different driving style to us, but yeah, it's more the trust in the drivers, because we're both trying to knock each other's doors, and trying to set it up for this is pretty tricky, so we're just trying to find a happy medium where we can deal with a slow car if we come against a slow car, and just hope that we outdrive a fast car, so that's how we're going to attack today, and yeah, bring on the battles.
So the series that started down in Winton in Victoria in incredibly hot weather has now made the trip north to Sydney Motorsport Park, a fantastic venue for drifting. This is how the points look. Arbolino and Yates populated the final at round 1. Redwood and Shemry pushing them all the way. You may remember Shemry had a very dented and damaged car at the first round. Over the page, and still some big names to watch out for like Cameron Moat, but it's Alex Sharker, the local, who's going to talk us through the South Circuit.
Today we've been blessed to actually drive at Sydney Motorsport Park. Very rarely we get to drive here, so it's a great track. It's really fast, really grippy. We've actually shortened the start line, so there's no lift of the accelerator. Basically, it's first, second, third gear straight into that corner. We enter that corner approximately 150, 160 kilometres an hour. We've got an outside clip where the back of the car has to hit. Then we cut it back in for an inner clip. We switch the car back around for another outer clip. It's a zone there, so you've got to run that as fast as you can. Then another switch on your left, it's an inner clip. Again, full noise all the way up the hill, right to the finish line, which is a right-hand clip once again, and that finishes the course.
And a late call for the Team Kiwi guys. They've brought in the big gun, Shane van Gisbergen, to assist in being their 8th driver. This is how they'll line up for the top 16 battles. Van Gisbergen will go up against Levi Clark. So straight away, the Giz is going into the deep end right there. We know Clark is so good on this circuit and plenty of big ones to watch out for. Interesting to see how Darren Kelly goes against a young star in Matt Hill. Redwood, we know he likes the South Circuit, up against Rob Arbolino. He was victorious at the opening round of the Trans Tasman Championship down in Winton. Okay, time to check out some of the highlights of the top 16. Drew Donovan up against James Abbott.
Jabbett sticking it a little bit too close to Drew Donovan there and making a mistake and going wide, but then across the finish line, Donovan having mechanical issues. Fortunately able to come back out on track after those mechanical issues, put in a bit of a chase run with Jabbett that, although it wasn't as close as we'd like to see, not being as big a mistake as Jabbett made his way through. Big mistake there from Adam Davies, shooting him off into the infield, letting the other Blaze Unit car drive uncontested, with Scott Shembry now chasing Dave Steedman into the familiar first corner of Sydney Motorsport Park South Circuit and walking through to the top 8.
Yeah, Scott Shembry getting the win. He made it to the final 4 at round 1 of the Hi-Tec Oils Trans Tasman Drifting Challenge at Winton with a very battered and bruised car. Darren Kelly, Matt Hill, we said this would be an interesting matchup to watch. Unfortunately, an error for Matt Hill in the chase run there really handed the advantage over to the Kiwi.
Man, Darren Kelly's car, though, absolutely on point. That 3-litre twin-cam RB roaring up the hill of South Circuit there, and you can see he's really enjoying the track.
And Matty Hill with one hand out saluting the judges on the way through. This is Andrew Redwood, who's so good at building a lead before that first corner. He did the top 16 round of battles against Rob Arbolino, winner of round 1 of the Trans Tasman Drifting Challenge.
Those two drivers actually facing each other on the podium in the round down at Winton. But it seems the decision made earlier in the ladder this time round with Rob Arbolino going through for Australia in the Matooks Racing S14.
So how about that? Arbolino got the better of him at Winton. And here at Sydney Motorsport Park, he gets the better of him once again. Hey, Levi Clark and Shane van Gisbergen. What a monster drift battle that one is. Just a pleasure to watch these two in action from the sky. Perfect lines, perfect angles. And in the end, they would give it to Shane van Gisbergen.
It's a real shame because I would have loved to see Levi Clark's car drive through later on in the round. I mean, that thing's got an LS with a turbo the size of your head hanging off the sides of it, and it makes an incredible noise.
Fangadan in the Century Batteries Commodore. This is a real powerhouse car. And Brad Toohey, a couple of big V8s. And Toohey, unfortunately, not getting the nod here. Had to go one more time. And eventually it'd be Fangadan who would take the win. Bad news for the local driver, Brad Toohey.
And Fangadan doing a particularly good job considering he's not only in his backup car, but he's in another country competing on a track that he's never driven on before. But Brad Toohey is not one to be left behind, especially not in front of a home crowd at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Just about watch these guys do battle all day long. Dan Woolhouse eventually did get the nod, better known as Fangadan, one of New Zealand's best. How's the angle of attack from the Achilles Radials 86? We love that car, but unfortunately one of them had to be put on the trailer. Cameron Moat is doing so well in our domestic championship up against Jody Verhulst in that Supra.
Yeah, LS-powered Supra that was actually built over the last 2 months in Perth, particularly to compete in the Trans Tasman Drifting Championship.
And Jody with an absolute monster upset here, despite the fact that Cameron's in such hot form back over running in our All-Star Series. It was Verhulst that got the nod and went on through. And then we saw Dave Steedman on a bye run, essentially, because Alex Sharker couldn't make it out after sustaining some damage earlier. Then he had that bit of a moment coming up for the second run through. So Steedman got the nod. I tell you what, there's one thing you've noticed from all that. A lot of Kiwis going through to the top 8. And it looks a bit like this. Van Gisbergen versus Schemri. So the Giz with another huge matchup. Kelly versus Arbolino. That's Australia v New Zealand. And then 2 all Kiwi battles to watch out for. But there are some big names gone early. Let's hear from one of them right now.
So we come back this weekend and thought we'd really try and chuck it down, but we've been fighting spark issues all weekend. Just with the new turbo setup from CRG, it's just we're just getting too much heat in under the bonnet. So yeah, we go back to the drawing board there. We finally got it sort of sorted enough to go for a quick run. So we got a spot in the Trans Tasman series, but ended up snapping our diff. So up against Shane Gisbergen.
Yeah, we saw that battle. It was a bit of an awkward one. Gizzy ran wide and just did a bit of a dirt drop, and you were right next to him. And is that what happened, was it? And just went all out?
Yeah, I didn't even know that he'd ran wide. I sort of just saw his door and was watching his steering angle and tried to tuck up on him. And yeah, he did apologise for the run, but yeah, I didn't notice that he'd done anything wrong. It's just as soon as we got on him, it just let go on us.
So action has been frantic early on here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Don't go anywhere because the top 8 here is still to come. We love any opportunity we get to see Australia versus New Zealand, doesn't matter what kind of sport it is. But today, it's drifting. This is the Hi-Tec Oils Trans Tasman Drifting Challenge, and it looks a bit like this. So we've already seen a couple of big names knocked out. It leaves Shane Van Gisbergen to do battle with Scott Schemri. Jodie Verhouse, she took out a big name in Cameron Moat. Now she's got Fanga Dan. Donovan Steedman, that's an all-Kiwi battle. Arbolino, winner of round 1, has the Kiwi #1 for company, but it's Schemri versus Van Gisbergen where we started off.
Giz sticking right to the rear bumper of Scott Schemri there as they come up over through that final clipping point and across the finish line. Riding on board now is one of the biggest names representing the Silver Fern in international motorsport of any discipline. Shane Van Gisbergen doing his absolute best to stick behind Scott Schemri of the Blaze unit. Coming through that final clipping point there, it's a haze of smoke and a very difficult job piloting it, and one that Shane Van Gisbergen will now get a chance to do out in front.
There's the angle from SVG on the way in. Oh, and Schemri, big proximity, gets close to the drift syndicate door.
That transition there was absolutely flawless, tucking right into the door of the drift syndicate VE Commodore.
This is the angle I was talking about on approach to that first clip. Look how far the back end comes around, steering whilst looking through the driver's side window. Unbelievable car control, and Shane Van Gisbergen gets the nod in the judges as well, so it's the Gizzies off to the final 4, big scalp.
D1NZ #1 Darren Kelly up against our current championship leader in the Trans Tasman Drifting Championship, Rob Arbolino, driving the Matux Racing S14 and actually coming into this championship as a bit of a sub for one of his teammates, Jabbit, who had a bit of bad luck down at Winton, and looks like he's doing his absolute best to show that he deserves his position in this championship.
Putting on a pretty good show here. We check out how they began the run once again. Kelly takes the advantages here with the judges, but Arbolino, I think he just let it go towards the end of the run a little bit, lost his momentum. A couple of straighten ups then. Unfortunately, that is where the judges sit, so probably the worst spot to make a mistake, right in front of them.
Definitely, and I'm sure he knows that as much as the audience do. Rob Arbolino now in front with a bit of a lead to catch up on. Both drivers struggling for traction on what is a deceptively steep hill climb through the S-bends of Sydney South Circuit. Bit of a gap there opened up with Rob Arbolino battling away out in front, and listen to this thing.
Tyres screaming, engine screaming, it's Darren Kelly who gets the nod, so that's 2 Kiwis through to the final 4. And we know we're going to get definitely one here because this is an all-Kiwi race.
Dave Steedman out in front of the Mimico S14 has proven himself to be an absolute weapon of a driver over here from NZ, up against Drew Donovan, piloting the second of the Link ECU LS powered. This one's an S14, also his partner Jody's Supra. Both of them driving quite well. In the replay here, you can see that Drew Donovan right out on that outside track edge, while Dave Steedman sticking to the centre line of the track, and I'm not sure that's what the judges are after there.
On the left front, just being lifted a couple of centimetres on the way in. The right rear guard rubbing on the tyre, producing even more smoke. Let's go again.
Both Kiwis struggling a little bit with that technical outside and a spin.
That was extremely close. Steedman doing a great job of missing Donovan. He looped right in front of him. Let's check this moment out once more. Just got away from him on the transition, nearly caught it. That is very close. And Steedman, thinking on his feet, gets the nod. Kiwi battle here as well. So we're going to have all four in the top four from over the ditch. Spangadan throws it sideways in front of Jody Verhulst. And the Supra just falling away a little bit as they push up the hill.
Let's head to the replay now, and right on board the Century Batteries Commodore with Fangadan. Almost like a slap in the face to the Australians, who aren't able to compete for a single position on this podium. Tied up by the Kiwis, Chad.
Unbelievable, isn't it? It's Woolhouse with the advantage. Supra leads the way now. In the hands of one very talented lady, Jody Verhulst. But that is a great chase run. Once again from Fangadan. He looks set to be going through to the top four. The control and the concentration in his face down at the first clip. There's the confirmation the Century Batteries Commodore is going through to the top four in what is an all-Kiwi top four. Congratulations to Dan Woolhouse and to the Team Kiwi lineup. Here's how they'll go through Sydney Motorsport Park for round 2 of the Trans Tasman Drifting Championship. The Gears versus Woolhouse in an all-Holden affair. Steedman and Kelly will line up on the other side of the ladder.
Me and Giz have had a couple of battles in, back in home, so yeah, really looking forward to it, man. We've had one each. I've won one, he's won one, so I think it's definitely one to watch, that's for sure.
Just hearing from Fangadan Woolhouse there, who will be going up against Shane Van Gisbergen in the top four battle. But first, Dave Steedman up against D1NZ's reigning champion, Darren Kelly, that we're right on board with now in the R34 Skyline.
Driving with a broken hand this weekend after a bit of a workshop accident. Right on board with Steedman. Look at the smoke. Trying to peer through and find just a little bit of real estate where he can put the front end of the Nissan.
That Hi-Tec Oils 34 just absolutely cooks with that twin cam 3-litre RB in there. And you can see Steedman there on that first entry having to correct for what was not quite an aggressive enough entry, and he's just playing catch up here. Lots of bobbles that are really obvious from the roofline there, whereas Darren Kelly absolutely silky smooth through that top section.
Advantage Kelly. From both of them. Oh, and a little straighten up before the finish for Kelly. That could be telling.
It's great to see the aggression of these Kiwi drivers on an unfamiliar track. I mean, Darren Kelly coming in there with a very aggressive entry, but unfortunately a mistake later in the run will put Dave Steedman through to the battle for the top spot in the Mimico S14.
And now we've got this all-Holden affair. Of Kiwi drivers Fantastic first run. How about the chase from SVG?
Absolutely dialed on that handbrake and steering wheel work. An obvious sign of an internationally experienced driver out there just giving drifting a go for a bit of fun and doing damn well at it.
Might I mention wearing his factory McLaren GT3 race suit here this weekend. He's a man of many talents. We know that about the Giz. And here he is driving at Sydney Motorsport Park sideways. We saw him do that after a V8 supercar race in the wet here a couple of years ago. He is just so talented, doesn't matter what he steps in. And that just goes to show you how violent these drift battles can be. Thumbs up between the Giz and Woolhouse, and away we go. Oh, that's close. Very tight, and a spin for the Giz and contact. Big hit. Whoa.
Wow. Bit of contact there. Seems to be a bit of a lazy transition from Van Gisbergen, forcing Fangadan into that contact there as the chase run. Be interested to see the replay there, Chad. It looked to just come out of nowhere.
Oh, it was such a slow spin. Look at the damage to the front end. Coolant leaking out, so there's definitely damage to the radiator and the cooling system on this car. They've talked us through it. It was a slow, long spin.
Both close here as Fangadan chase, but it looks as if Van Gisbergen may have gotten sucked into this uphill section with his back wheels on that outside clip. And you can see there on the lock stops trying to pull that car back around for the transition, but unfortunately just a little bit too aggressive to try and climb a hill with that sort of power and that sort of angle at low speed.
Just ran out of lock, quite simply, and that's what caused the spin. So that's how they'll line up at the end of the day. I'll be very surprised if Van Gisbergen makes it out for his third place matchup against Darren Kelly. Woolhouse and Steedman to fight for the win. So Fangadan with some emergency panel beating. And let's hear from Shane Van Gisbergen and find out a little bit more about how that accident happened.
Yeah, we were all pretty excited, all the Kiwis, but yeah, I just made a mistake there. The chase was good and thought I'd try and put down a lead run, and he was sticking with me, but yeah, I just ran out of lock and spun and he had nowhere to go, so pretty unfortunate. There's a fair bit of damage, but yeah, we're going really good.
So bad news there. Shane Van Gisbergen out of the event, can't take place in his third place battle. So Kelly, right of screen, will be locked into third. And now it's about who will take the win. It's time to find out. Steedman versus Woolhouse. Away we go. It will be Steedman to leaders in the Mimico Nissan.
Pretty aggressive entry there with Fangadan actually cutting the corner a little bit in the midline of the track. Will the judges look poorly upon that, as he is quite close in this top section here? An aggressive chase in the last half of the track, possibly ruined early on. As you see here, both drivers a little bit on the middle of the track, and then Fangadan cutting in just that little bit early and jumping a curb.
He'll know he's made that mistake. He will also know that he was right on the back of the Nissan at the end. So first half not so good, second half a lot better. And he'll probably know that out front he needs to throw it down. Let's enjoy the last race, the last drift for the weekend.
Mistake there from Dave Steedman, going into that very technical outside clipping point, and unfortunately carrying a bit too much speed there, going that little bit wide, dropping both back wheels, which is a big no-no in drifting.
We know that outside clip is difficult. You're right on board with the Kiwi. Steedman right now just fell off the back of the road there, got the dust. That could be the difference.
Just to clarify, that is a key judging criteria. Both cars are meant to drag their rear end of the car against the track edge there, which is exactly what they've tried to do, but unfortunately, Steedman just being that little bit aggressive and handing the win to the man we can see on the top of the podium. Fangadan driving for Century's Batteries and doing an absolutely fantastic job to round out what is an all-Kiwi podium.
Fantastic job by the New Zealanders. Let's hear from some of them now.
Oh yeah, man, I think it had about 14 mil toe out on that left rear, and we were trying to straighten it with pipes and everything like that, and I just said to the boys, nah, I'm just going to run it, I just want to get out there. So we left the car together, we didn't pull it apart too much, so we couldn't get back out there, but so I just said, oh, this is our plan, we're just going to hit it, we're going to go hard. And what an awesome battle with Shane. It's, you know, I bet him about 2 years ago, and he came back for revenge again, and he bet me, so got him. Wasn't the way I wanted to do it, but yeah, it's awesome. And Dave and, you know, all the boys, all the team, New Zealand crew, just the whole trip, it's been crazy.
So the points after 2 rounds look like this. Amazingly, Arbolino hanging on to that lead, but Steedman is the big surprise packet here. Woolhouse, Kelly, look how close it is between the top 4 guys. Just 4 points covering the lot, and still quite a few big names a bit further down the list. That was very exciting stuff. Congratulations to the Kiwis.
The very top of the D1NZ ladder came over here to battle it out on unfamiliar ground, and now we're sending the Australians back over there to battle on some of their home ground. Hi-Tec Motorsport Park on March 26th and 27th, followed by Pukekohe on the 22nd and 24th of April. I mean, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, Anzac Day weekend. Thanks everybody for watching round 2 of the Hi-Tec Oils Trans Tasman Drifting Championship.
Hello and welcome to FIA Pure Motorsport. On this week's episode, we introduce you to the creator of the Bergmonster VW Golf Rally TFSI. We'll have great Formula Regional action from the Ardennes roller coaster, and we'll show you the best first step into cross-country rallying, and much, much more from the FIA world of motorsport. The legendary Spa-Francorchamps circuit is the venue for the 7th stop of the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. In the forest of the Ardennes, the battle for the top spot in the overall series standings is heating up, with the top 5 drivers within a 58-point gap. After 6 races, Dino Beganovic leads in the overall standings with 180 points. Thanks to great performances in the last races, Gabriel Mini has cut the Swede's lead to 9 points. Paul Aron is third with 152 points. In the first race, the 2 leaders in the overall standings are on the front row. Dino Beganovic on the left, Gabriel Mini on the right. Beganovic with a great start, but Mini immediately puts on the pressure. The 2 leaders already pull away in Eau Rouge. Gabriel Mini is now right behind Beganovic and uses the slipstream on the Camel straight back to attack. The Italian enters the corner slightly ahead of Beganovic, but he's too fast and has to drive over the curbs. Beganovic takes the lead again, while Sebastian Montoya goes off track for the second time. This time, the young Colombian falls back quite a few places. 18-year-old Frenchman Samy Meguentunif is in great form in his orange MP Motorsport car. He has a race-long duel with Paul Aron, and in the 12th lap finally manages to overtake the Estonian with a nice maneuver to move up to 3rd place. Edoardo Barrichello also passes Aron and manages to keep the Prima Racing driver behind him. So Aron, one of the title favorites who started in 3rd place, drops back to 5th. Then disaster strikes. Mini, lying in 2nd place, drops out with a flat tire. However, a spin by Victor Bernier of FA Racing in Les Combes on the 14th and final lap leads to a red flag. Dino Beganovic wins a race for the first time since Monaco. Samy Meguentunif finishes 2nd and achieves his best result in Formula Regional. So does Edoardo Barrichello. The Brazilian finishes 3rd and makes it onto the podium for the first time. In the second race this weekend, Paul Aron in the red and white race car and Hadrien David are on the front row. Both turn into the first corner parallel with each other. Further back in the field, there are several accidents. Through Eau Rouge, Aron leads the field with David in second, followed by Dino Berganovic and Gabriel Bortoleto. On the Camel Straight, David attacks the leader, Paul Aron, and passes him at the end of the straight. The problem for David, at this point, the safety car was already on track due to the accidents, and that will play a role later. While David pulls away and Paul Aron falls back, Bortoleto attacks Berganovic. The Brazilian is successful and takes over second position. Meanwhile, Eduardo Barrichello overtakes Tim Tramnitz to advance to fifth place. After a spin by Piotr Wisnicki, the race ends behind the safety car. Hadrian David crosses the finish line first, but victory is awarded to Gabriel Bortoleto only once the engines have been switched off, as he crosses the line in second. He's crowned the winner following the penalty imposed on teammate Hadrian David for overtaking Paul Aron under safety car conditions. This maneuver relegated the French driver to the second position. Dino Berganovic completes his good weekend with another podium finish. The Swede extends his lead in the overall standings. He's now 41 points ahead of Gabriel Mini. Paul Aron reduces the gap to the Frenchman to 3 points. Karl Schagerl can also drive casually up a mountain, but this is how the 43-year-old Austrian prefers to drive. His VW Golf Rally TFSI is a car that causes a stir even in the hill climb camp. In hill climb racing, we talk about the Berg Monster, 815 horsepower, 820 Newton meters, and weighing in at only 970 kilograms. A racing car that is faster than the mountain can call. For Karl Schagerl, it all started with a Golf Rally that he bought in 2000. Since his apprenticeship at VW, he has had a special relationship with this brand. Karl became a master mechanic with his own dealership and garage, and his Golf Rally evolved with him.
I
think I have the advantage as a driver that I've always made the best possible use of the engine power right from the start. Sometimes I drove against competitors who had 600, 700, and 800 horsepower. But we were always really in a good position. We drove a good line. That's how we slowly grew, the whole team and me as a driver too, of course. And that's why it's not an extreme challenge.
Und darum ist es jetzt gar nicht so eine extreme Herausforderung. Also, bevor wir die 800 Basics gehabt haben, hat man schon irgendwo gedacht, na, auf der Geraden ein bisschen was könnte ich da noch brauchen und da und da und dann natürlich.
Before we had 800 horsepower, we always thought that we could use a bit more. And then you study again over the winter where you can get even more out of it. Now we have a performance that we said 5 years ago would never be possible. That's impossible to drive, but now it's possible. Together with the tuners, we've made it possible to drive with this much power.
Und dass so viel Leistung trotzdem gut fahrbar ist.
Of course, this is also down to the driver.
Ja, ich würde eher sagen, dass ich
Yeah, I'm not someone who risks everything. I tend to drive tactically, memorize the route well.
vielleicht die Strecke gut einträgt, einmal ein bisschen langsam probieren das Training und dann schauen, was möglich ist.
In training, I start slowly, and then I see what's possible, and then try to be fast.
Das letzte Hemd riskiert, aber man muss jetzt immer schnell unterwegs sein.
His Golf is a custom build, and together with his team, who are just as motorsport mad as he is, they work countless hours to improve his car.
Und wenn wir das Auto in der Werkstatt haben,
when the car is in our garage, we think about what we can do. And the guys who work in the background are then the most important.
Das sind dann die wichtigsten Personen eigentlich.
Karl was crowned Austrian national mountain champion 7 times in a row and set countless course records. He is now competing in his first season in the FIA European Hill Climb Championship, a new challenge.
Neue Fahrer kennenlernen, neue Strecken.
I get to know new drivers, new routes, and new places. That's important. The competition is only on the track. In the paddock, the drivers help each other. We're very enthusiastic so far.
Immer im Vordergrund gestanden, also wir sind sehr begeistert bis jetzt.
The track in Limanova is also new for him. The first reconnaissance trips are made in a normal road car.
Teilweise gibt es die Strecken schon im Simulator.
There are many tracks already in the simulator, so of course you can prepare well, but Limanova is not available for the simulator. That's why we watched videos.
Die Strecke gibt. Also da haben wir das mit Videos gemacht. Das ist einmal die erste Kurve.
This is the first curve. We know from the other drivers that the asphalt is very slippery here.
Das haben wir schon von Fahrerkollegen gehört, bevor wir überhaupt einmal da gefahren sind, das erste Mal da gewesen sind.
With a production car, you feel it when you brake harder or go faster through a bend. It's really much more slippery than the other tracks.
Es ist wirklich einiges rutschiger als sämtliche andere Asphaltbeschaffenheiten.
And it's precisely on such slippery tracks that the tires matter, because power is nothing without control, and in hill climb races the tires must have special capabilities.
Ja, das ist bei Hillclimb-Reifen ist natürlich ganz besonders, wir fahren weg.
Especially in hill climb, we drive away with cold tires. That means they have to work cold too. We're not allowed to heat the tires. The tires must have optimal grip regardless of whether the track is 4 or 8 kilometers long. Of course, this is not an easy task for the tire manufacturer. At Avon, there are many different compounds, and we've tried a lot and are very well equipped with Avon.
Und sind da sehr gut aufgestellt mit Avon.
For Karl Schagel, things are going very well in his first year. He's dominating the Group 1 vehicles, and for the overall title in the closed car category, he is in a neck-and-neck race with Vasily Yaksik. When asked about his motorsports dream, he only answers,
Nein, ich muss ehrlich sagen, mittendrin.
I have to be honest, I'm in the middle of it. And he won't be leaving anytime soon. The 6th round of the FIA European Hill Climb Championships takes place in Limanova, Poland. Limanova lies 75 kilometers southeast of Krakow. The route of the race is 5,493 meters long and known for its slippery asphalt and the passionate fans. The Polish fans love hill climb races, and the Polish drivers often know how to use their home advantage. This weekend, however, the weather played a major role. While the practice runs could be completed in sunny and dry conditions, the drivers had to make the difficult decision on the decisive day: slick tires or rain tires. In Category 2, the competition cars, the reigning champion Christian Merli also dominates the current season. In the overall standing, he's 30 points ahead of Peter Trenka. Alexander Hin follows in 3rd place. Germany's Alexander Hin in the Osella FA30 Hi-Tec drove the demanding track in Poland for the first time. He caused quite a stir with the 3rd fastest overall time, especially in the dry first race day. In the wet 2nd race in difficult conditions, he didn't take any unnecessary risks and achieved the 4th fastest time. All in all, Alexander Hin finishing in a very good 3rd place. The victory in this category was decided between the 2 best pilots, Peter Trenka against Christian Merli. Trenka drove to the 2nd best time in the first run and put in a good 2nd run in difficult conditions. With the best time, he moved into 1st place. But Christian Merli still had to go for it. He showed his dominance on the dry asphalt in the first run. He was the only driver to stay under 2 minutes and was almost 7 seconds faster than Trenka. In his Osella FA30, he took no risks in run 2. In the end, he was 2 seconds slower than Trenka, but the cushion from race 1 gave him the victory in Category 2. To illustrate the conditions of the 2nd race, Merli was almost 26 seconds slower than in the first race. The overall standings has not changed after the race weekend in Limanova. Merli leads in front of Trenka and then Hin. The title fight for Category 1, the closed cars, is a neck-and-neck race. Vasily Yaksik leads in the overall standings just ahead of Karl Schagel. Antonino Migliolo is 3rd. Of course, the duel between the 2 drivers fighting for the overall victory was the focus of the weekend. But all the drivers had to struggle with the weather, which was getting worse by the minute on Sunday. The order was shaken up once again. Karl Schagel had set the 4th best time in the first race, but in the decisive race, he was one of the last on track and moved down the leaderboard in the rainy, wet weather of Limanova. Only 17th place for the Austrian in the end, 10th place overall. His toughest competitor, Vasily Yaksik, finished 1 place ahead of him. The Montenegrin can thus extend his lead in the overall standings. The Italian Antonino Migliolo had been only 7th after the first race, but caught relatively good road conditions in the second race and managed the second best time, 3rd place overall for him. However, the victory in Limanova in Category 1 was decided by 2 Polish drivers. Dubai achieved the 3rd best time twice in his Mitsubishi Lancer Evo. That was enough for 2nd place. Karol Krupa in his Skoda Fabia CT Proto had already achieved the 2nd best time in the first race. In the second race, he was one of the last drivers to reach the finish line on an almost dry track. He's 5 seconds faster than Dubai and thus pushes past his compatriot into 1st place. In the overall standings, Vasily Yaksik was able to extend his lead over Karl Schagerl. Antonino Migliolo's good result brings him a little closer to the 2 leaders. The 6th stop of the FIA European Autocross Championships took place in Toldijk in the Netherlands. It was also the 2nd stop of the FIA Cross Car Academy Trophy. The young talents showed a great final. In the end, Spain's Miguel Galloso Vasquez was successful. After a 2nd place at the first stop, he also takes the lead in the overall standings. In the junior buggies this season, the Czech Arnost Florian is the outstanding driver. In the Netherlands, he celebrated his 5th victory in the 6th race. His compatriot Daniel Pitloen came in 2nd. Local hero Toyn van Asten completed the podium. Kevin Peters from Luxembourg dominated in the final of the buggy 1600 category. He celebrates his 3rd victory in the last 4 races without being challenged. Bart van der Putten had to admit defeat in front of his home crowd. Jakub Novotny was 3rd, and with this success, Peters further extends his lead in the overall standings. Peter Nikodem from the Czech Republic celebrated his next success in the Super Buggies and extended his lead in the overall standings. Radek Jordak completed a double success for the Czech Republic. Erwin Grenches drove his orange buggy from 7th to 3rd place, an impressive performance. The 4th stop of the ADAC Formula 4 at Nürburgring saw the duel between championship leader Kimi Antonelli in the red and white car and Taylor Barnard in the first 2 races. The 18-year-old British driver claimed his first victory in ADAC Formula 4 in the first race of the weekend. Antonelli finished in 2nd position. Both drivers had a great duel in the second race as well. Once again, Barnard was able to win by a narrow margin. In the last race of the weekend, James Wharton succeeded. His Prima Racing teammate Conrad Larson finished 2nd. Kimi Antonelli tried everything to finish 3rd, but was again narrowly beaten by Taylor Barnard. Over the last 10 years, the look of the bivouac at cross-country events has changed. SSVs, or side-by-side vehicles, are more and more present. This year, for example, more than 100 SSVs took part in the Dakar Rally for the first time. 2 side-by-side categories are eligible for the FIA Cross-Country Baja Cups, T3s and T4s. T3s are lightweight prototype cross-country vehicles, and T4s are modified production SSVs.
They're great, they're a lot of fun to drive, and they're great for getting into the sport, I think. For me, I felt very comfortable during the Dakar in the T3 because I knew I could trust the car to go in a lot of places that I could see the T2s. They would have to calculate where they were going, how they would take the angles because of the weight of the car. You know, it's so heavy. And the T1s also, they had to think about their route more than me. The T3 was easy to manage relative to the other cars.
Kees Koolin has already participated in every category of the Dakar Rally, from motorbikes to quads and trucks. Now he drives a T4 vehicle.
I think the main thing is that it is very easy. The car is too good. It means if you're in the dunes, it's very difficult to get stuck. So the car is so good that you can concentrate on going from the bike or the quad to the car and learn to drive the car. And if you behave, you will finish every race. So you can concentrate on learning to ride. And that's what is very important, because if you want to be a good rally rider, you need to have the technique first.
SSVs are not only smoothing out the learning curve, but also coming at a lower cost. This makes it easier to get into the sport. Patricia Pitagago was the first female rally driver in Uruguay. Now she's trying to make the switch to cross-country rallies in a T4.
I think it's amazing. For example, in cross-country, we are seeing a lot of women. I think it's because this car allows us like more easy budgets. So I think it's amazing to see women in cross-country because it's always like it inspires our other women to come to motorsport, and I think that is really important. The most amazing thing is the suspension. This car goes through a lot of things that a rally car doesn't. Now, for example, the jumps yesterday with Alba, my co-driver, she's also a rally co-driver, no? So for both of us, it's all new. And in the jumps, in the test, the first ones, we were both of us. If we came here in a rally car, we would already have died, you know. And with this one, ooh, and the next one, a little bit faster, ooh, and they don't move. They're like, toop, toop. I was like, that's amazing, really fun.
Fun for drivers and co-drivers. As the name suggests, the two sit next to each other. The co-pilot has the road book on his side and the GPS transmitter, which shows the race organizers whether the team is hitting the waypoints and keeping to the speed limits. The maximum speed for T3s and T4s is limited to 135 kilometers and 125 kilometers respectively. The team is protected by a safety cage. Safety is a top priority. All vehicles must be fitted with the compulsory safety items. The fuel tank with 130 liters max is under the driver's seat. All SSVs have to be equipped with harnesses and an extinguishing system. The good thing, you can have fun and be successful. Last February, Saudi Arabia's Saleh Al Saif became the first ever driver of a T3 lightweight prototype vehicle to win an international FIA Baja event when he and his Russian co-driver Igor Okotnikov guided their Can-Am Maverick X3 to victory at the Jordan Baja. No wonder the latest FIA Baja categories are becoming more and more popular. Round 4 of the FIA World Cup for cross-country Bajas is the 38th edition of the Baja España Aragon. It's in its 9th consecutive year, and the event in Teruel is once again breaking records. The 2-day, 3 selective sections event attracted as many as 92 FIA entry crews. 4-time Dakar winner Nasser Al Attiyah, reigning champion of the Baja Aragon, will once again be one of the favorites. This edition of the Baja España Aragon passes through 3 regions: Teruel, Hiloca, and Albarracin, where drivers will find a wide variety of terrain from winding roads to unpaved areas. On day 1, the participants must complete 2 selective sections. A total of 435 kilometers lie ahead of the crews. The biggest rival of Nasser Al Attiyah and Mathieu Boimel is the Saudi Yazid Al Raji with his English co-driver Michael Orr, who recently won the Italian Baja. The unlucky one on the first day was Eric van Loon. The Dutchman lost the chance of a top position when he flooded his Hilux's engine during a muddy water crossing on Saturday afternoon. He finished day 1 in 62nd position, already 4 hours 44 minutes behind the leader. The biggest surprise on the first day was the Brazilian Lucas Moraes. Together with his co-driver Kayki Bentivoglio, he left experienced rally drivers like Sebastian Halpern and Krzysztof Holovczyk in their X-Raid Minis behind. In their new Toyota Hilux T1 Plus, they have a great first day in only their 2nd World Cup race, and despite their lack of experience, move up to 3rd place, just 34 seconds behind World Cup leader Yazid Al Raji, who can be satisfied with a 2nd place after day 1, but not with the gap he has to his biggest rival, Nasser Al Attiyah. The Qatari dominated the first day of the Baja Aragon and won both selective stages with co-driver Mathieu Boimel. After 435 completed kilometers, he enters day 2 with a 5-minute lead.
Yeah, it's a good day for us, and I'm quite happy, to win all the stage in morning and afternoon. Now we have 5-minute lead, and it's make better for tomorrow. But like what I say, it's a new car, T1 Plus. First time we run here in Baja, but it's really good. We find a lot of things interesting. This is also a good step, for next race. But okay, I'm really quite happy, and yeah, my favorite race, and today's was not easy, very tough.
Leg 2 on Sunday is 160 kilometers long. The two Brazilians in the Toyota Hilux duplicate their good performance from the previous day. They set the second fastest time of the leg and increase the pressure on the second place Yazid Al-Raji and Michael Orr. But the experienced team reacts confidently. They're the fastest team on Sunday and win the second leg with 2 minutes and 37 seconds ahead of the Brazilians, but it's not enough for the overall win. Nasser Al-Attiyah and Mathieu Boimel don't take any risks and manage their lead. In his latest specification Toyota Gazoo Racing Hilux, Al-Attiyah wins the Baja Aragon by 3 minutes 2 seconds ahead of Yazid Al-Raji. This success was his 5th on the event since 2008.
I'm really quite happy, to win again here and 5 times, in Baja Aragon. It's really nice race, and also, to see all the spectator everywhere in the stage is amazing, For me, it's one of the best Baja in the world.
With his second place finish, Yazid Al-Raji extends his lead in the championship. Miroslav Zaplatel is 27 points back. Saleh Al-Saif is in 3rd position. That's it for today. On our next episode of FIA Pure Motorsport, we present successful women in motorsports. We'll enjoy the long gravel roads of Finland with the historic rally teams, and we'll follow the Autocross Championship to Prerov. Till next time, take care everybody, and ciao.